All right. What's up, everybody? My people in Manhattan, the boogie down Bronx, Queens, all the way out to Staten Island, my home borough, Brooklyn. 5 boroughs versus everybody. I'm back here with another video. This one's going to be on this interesting article I'd read, a couple months ago. How absent fathers are hurting African American boys. You know, you see this a lot in the news. A lot of these black women, talk about these boys are destroying the neighborhood, where their fathers at, where the men at to get these young boys in check and all that whatnot. It really kind of blows my mind. Not really, but these women are the reason why the fathers aren't home in the first place. The feminists, I covered this in my misogyny and hip hop video, that the feminist movement encouraged women to have men, trick men into getting them pregnant. Things are gonna be all one big Cinderella story, happily ever after and whatnot, and then run the man off, take the man to the court system, make him pay child support, not allow him to see his child, and, being a single mother. And that's destroyed the black community. This is the feminist movement. Welfare had been around before then, but the feminist movement, led by Gloria Steinem, and the black feminist movement, which was led by Michelle Wallace and Alice Walker, but in the background, Gloria Steinem, encouraged that mentality and that tactic in the black community, and black women, so-called black women, have been using it in America ever since. Ever since. Of course, there were single-parent homes in the black community before then, but, the rate wasn't as high as it is today. But anyway, this is an interesting story. It's kind of a long story. Obviously, this is the subject to the story. Kesia Bright Thought, sorry if I mispronounced her name, and her son Jamari. Okay, but let's get to this article. The winter snow in Washington, D.C. always reminds me of the boys who live next door. There were 3 of them. They will shovel my sidewalk, the youngest trying his hardest to keep up with his 2 older brothers. When I first moved to the neighborhood, their father urged them to help me with the heavy boxes or carry my groceries inside. He kept close watch over them, warning his boys of the dangers that lurked in the streets. Remind me of my pops. Me and my close friends, my real close friends, my real friends, we, all of us came from 2-parent homes, I always made it, especially when I got older, to dissociate people who came from 2-parent homes. Because boys who came from single mother homes, to be honest with you, act effeminate. Okay, because that's the dominant energy in the house is a woman, obviously. So they don't know how to be a man. They know how a man acts, conducts himself. So they act like women. They act like effeminate bitches. Okay, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but that's just what it is. Man. Then their father died, and life became dramatically different for the boys next door. Our neighborhood, less than 4 miles from the U.S. Capitol, D.C. Oh yeah, D.C. That's where that nickname "murder capital" comes from, because D.C. used to be the murder capital. Now you got like Chicago and Baltimore and Detroit, St. Louis, so it's basically called the murder capital, but that originated from D.C. Anyway, 4 miles from the U.S. Capitol is one of the most neglected areas of the city. Here, 73% of children live in households headed by a woman. Damn, 73%. Lord have mercy. There's high poverty, unemployment, devastating crime and violence, substance abuse, homelessness, rising rates of high school dropouts, and teenage pregnancy. Far too often, gunshot pierces in the dark, quiet nights, followed by police sirens and ambulance horns. At times, helicopters will hover above, trying to find the thieves that steal lives. Absolutely. Like I said, ever since the feminist movement, I'm going to get to this in a minute, but ever since the feminist movement, seen single mother households and crime has gone up in the black community. Notice what came after the black feminist movement in the 70s. What came in the 80s? The crack epidemic. And the crack epidemic lasted, from the 80s to the early 90s. Okay, that came after the feminist movement, after women got their quote unquote equality. The black community went down. Okay, and the Caucasians in power knew that, because one thing we always had, one of the many things that the so-called black people here in America had over the Caucasians was the family structure. Okay, we had a strong family unit. They didn't. Okay, and they destroyed that through their agent Gloria Steinem and her 2 apprentices, Gloria Steinem and Michelle Wallace and Alice Walker. Those Gloria Steinem's apprentices. Anyway, it is in this place littered by check chasing storefronts, liquor stores, and carryouts where mothers struggle to make both ends meet and keep their children safe. And it is in this place where too many black boys, like the boys next door, have to navigate life alone. Absolutely. Okay, some of these boys, the reason why some of these boys join the gangs, like here in Brooklyn, we got the Woos. The reason these boys join the gangs because they want that male energy. Okay, they want that male energy. They want to be around men because they know they need that. Boys know they need that male energy to teach them how to be a man. How? Someone explain to me how the fuck a woman is supposed to turn a boy into a man. A woman doesn't know shit about being a man. So how's she gonna teach her son? Okay, that's why when boys get become teenagers, they start resenting their mother, not listening to her, begin to be disrespectful towards her, join gangs like the Woos. Or some of them, if they got their head on straight, some of them will join like the football team. The mother will try to get them to the football team, the basketball team, take them to a boxing gym to be around older males. Because the mothers realize, oh shit, we fucked up. My son's out of control and going through all these issues because he doesn't have a father. I need to get him around an older male. They don't realize that until it's too late. Again, that's why, these women's children kind of turn on them. They threaten, call the police on them for child abuse and child neglect, all this shit. Okay, but anyway, let's get back to this. Not long after their father's death, the boys start skipping school and missing curfew. Typical teenage behavior turned to serious crime. More than once, I witnessed one of the boys being led away in handcuffs by the police. Their mother, for her part, sought help from the school system, the courts, the government. But her efforts fell short. Of course, in this situation, this isn't the woman's fault that her children's father passed away. This is an unfortunate situation, but not all situations are like this where the father passes away. Sometimes the father is kept away from his children because the mother, doesn't want him around for whatever reason, or the father, is an asshole, and just abandons the family. Okay, man. None of the boys graduated from high school. 2 have been in the criminal justice system, and the youngest has had several stints in drug rehab. Damn shit. Like I said, notice after the feminist movement in the 70s, the black feminist movement in the 70s, you got the crack epidemic. And what movie came out in and smack dab in the middle of the 80s? The Color Purple. And I went over this in my Misogyny and Hip Hop, How Did It All Start video. Okay, go check out that video on my channel. One of my older videos, I got to scroll down a little bit, but Misogyny and Hip Hop started with the feminist movement. The reason why you saw like NWA and the 2 Live Crew and the 2 Shorts of the world, not to get off topic, but the reason you saw them be very misogynist and graphically violent towards women because they all grew up in that feminist movement era. They were all born in the early, mid, late 60s, and they grew up in the 70s and 80s. Some of them didn't have fathers. Some of them just dealt with these women and boys who didn't have fathers, so they acted effeminate and toxic, and they just grew up to, some of them hate women, resent women. That's why Too Short rapped about pimp stuff and Ice Cube, and all of them rapped about bitches ain't shit and slapping women and sometimes raping women, just violent. Okay? So what happened? So women ask, so what happened? Would their lives have been different if their father had lived? What did these young men need in their lives that their mother could not provide? That male energy. Miss Lottie Joyner. That's the woman who wrote this article, by the way. Her name is Lottie Joyner. According to the latest census figures, about 50% of African-American boys under age 17 live with a mother only, compared to the 16% of their white counterparts. Research shows that children in fathers' homes are more likely to drop out of school, exhibit behavioral problems, and end up in the criminal justice system. Exactly, because there's no order. There's no structure. Without order, you get chaos. Okay? Suffer unemployment and are the greater risk of substance and drug abuse. But why? That's the question. I posed a 2015 National Health Journalism Fellow. And my story for theroot.com. theroot.com. Lord, the most. I go on that website, theroot.com, just to get a good laugh. Because those motherfuckers are idiots. The idiot woke Negroes, man. Fucking clowns. But anyway, in a more in-depth narrative for the Crisis magazine, I examined the impact of father absence on the mental health of black boys. My goal was to understand what happens to boys, specifically young African-American men who are often faced with the eye of scrutiny from the world, who does not have a father present in his life. I wanted to learn about the tools and resources needed to address the often deeply buried emotional pain African-American boys experience as a result of a father's absence. I wondered, how do we take care of the hearts of our black boys without fathers? Okay? And for all the people out there watching this video, go watch the legendary film Boys in the Hood. Okay? A lot of black women, criticized John Singleton, God bless his soul, passed away a couple years ago. They criticized him for making black women look bad, making them look like they're bad mothers. That's not what that movie's about. If that's what you took away from that movie, you're a fucking fool, male or female. That movie wasn't trying to demonize black mothers. I believe John Singleton was trying to show you, look what happened to Trey. Trey, at the beginning of his movie, with his mother, when he was living with his mother, he was getting into trouble and fights at school. When he lived with his father, of course, he was a man. He provided order and structure, kept Trey in check. And we saw Trey as a teenager. He was calm, cool, collected, because he was disciplined. He had that strong masculine energy. Of course, he was a teenager, so everybody does dumb stuff when they're teenagers. But he had that strong masculine energy. He was disciplined, as opposed to Doughboy and Ricky. Doughboy and Ricky got into trouble. Doughboy went to jail, became a Crip, and ended up dead. Ricky, you saw he was a little sensitive and emotional. And our mama's boy, remember when Doughboy and Ricky got to fight on the lawn? The mom, she slapped Doughboy. It's like, Ricky, baby, let me see, Ricky, baby. Basically, babying him, Ricky kind of swatted away and ran off, throwing a little tantrum. We saw Trey chase after him, trying to calm him down. Okay? Yeah, but yeah, go look at that film. Okay, that movie, it's just showing you, well, at least what I took from the film is showing you the difference between boys in the hood who were, no pun intended, who have fathers in their lives as opposed to boys who don't. Okay? And like I said, me and all my close friends, we all came from two-parent homes. That's the tough part, said Ron McMency of Columbia University School of Social Work. And at some point in their life, every man is vulnerable. You have circumstances in your life that you need to be able to go to a man to debrief. Yep, absolutely, man. And man, when I went through shit, I wasn't really a troublemaker like that. No, obviously, even grow up here in the ghettos of Brooklyn, I wasn't no troublemaker like that. When I had shit, when it go through, I always went to my dad. My dad would take time out of his day to talk to me. Okay, of course, I went to my mom too, but on certain issues, you can only talk to your father. Okay? And like I said with my other videos, okay, I think the video I did on the rapper Sweetie, my father, he was like the real life version of that Will Smith character in the movie Hitch. Remember Will Smith played the smooth, cool ladies man? That was basically what my father was. My father was a fun, smooth, funny dude. He was a funny, cool dude who was all about no bullshit. He was a strong, patriarchal figure. Okay, so I was blessed. Okay. Indeed, there was no shortage of knowledgeable experts, psychologists, family therapists, academics who could discuss how father absence impacted the mental health of black boys. The University of California, San Francisco professor Howard Penderhughes, for example, noted how fathers help black boys deal with the structural violence, institutional racism, bias in schools, profiling in the streets, employment discrimination they often endure growing up in America. If you don't have a father in the home, who can act as a source of support and one of your pillars for formation of resilience, then you're less likely to be resilient in the face of a lot of sources of trauma. In other words, you fold under pressure. Okay? If you don't have a father, your father teaches you to have a backbone to stand up. And when the going gets tough, the tough get going. There's, of course, a mother who will kind of, if you fall down, she'll help you get back up. She'll coddle you, give you an ice pack and a juice box and all that bullshit. A dad will be like, boy, get your ass up. I remember I was on the basketball court one time. My pops was there watching. I fell and scraped my knee. I was like, shit. Like, I wasn't crying or nothing, but it hurt like a bitch. He's like, boy, get your ass up and get down to the court. I was like, Dad, what the fuck? Of course, I was a little kid, so I didn't say that. I was thinking like, what did you tell me that for? But looking back on it, he was just teaching me how to be tough. You know what I'm saying? So that's all my dad was, what he was doing. Well, that's what Trump Penderhughes said. A big challenge in reporting this story was finding an organization or grassroots community program that provided mental health services to fatherless boys. There are numerous after-school programs, mentoring organizations, and weekend enrichment activities for boys. And once again, that's what a lot of these women do. They realize they fucked up and realize the boy needs a father, so they try to get him into football, basketball, boxing, or some after-school activity to keep him out of the streets. Or if they can't, they keep him out of the streets, he ends up joining like a gang. Okay? I was going to skip over the rest of that a little bit. If y'all want to read it, y'all can read it for yourselves. I'll go back to the top and show you what it was. But we look at our youth and say that they are bad. I say that they are hurting, said Ma'at. Their behaviors are behaviors of them acting out of pain. They're just trying to meet a need. They need to be included, to be loved and welcomed and respected and wanted. Exactly. In other words, when you see all these women, we talk about, man, these boys, they're tearing up, destroying the communities. Where are all the men at? Okay? Not knowing that, well, be honest with you, you're part of the problem. You're part of the problem. Talking about the women, y'all part of the problem. But, we ain't here for the blame game. But if we're going to do the blame game, well, the blame goes to you. Okay, nope. Okay, no, I'm not trying to be petty or nothing, but that's what it is. Okay, but let me go to this. Obviously, this is centerforhealthjournalism.com. This is the article. That's the author, if y'all want to read this for yourselves. Okay. Now, this here's a picture I've used before. I've used this in my misogyny hip-hop video. Okay, this is the non-marital birth rates in the United States from 1940 to 2014. Okay. Okay, you see the purple line is the black community, the African American community. Okay, of course, the percentage of non-marital birth rates in the American community started to appear on the charts before 1970. Okay, what was going on in the late 60s? The feminist movement. Then throughout the 70s, it went up. The black feminist movement. Throughout the 80s, it rose. That's the crack epidemic, and it peaked. Appears to peak in the 90s. Got to its peak in the 90s. Throughout the 2000s, it dipped a little in the 2000s and went back up in the late 2000s. Okay, what was going on during that time span? The feminist movement in the late 60s, early 70s, the black feminist movement in the mid-late 70s, the crack epidemic in the 80s and 90s, again, the 2000s and 2010. Now, the 2010s, you got this Me Too movement. Okay, and that's why I did a follow-up video to misogyny and hip-hop. How did it all start? To misogyny and hip-hop, it's about to get worse. Because you got these boys growing up in these single mother homes, these toxic matriarchal environments, this Me Too bullshit where women can basically get away with anything. And they're going to grow up and they're going to have to express their rage, their inner anger. And what's one way you express yourself? Music. Okay, I said pretty soon, don't be surprised if you start seeing, like a rapper openly talk about slapping and beating women in his lyrics. Y'all remember when Nelly, the Tip Drill song, he swiped the girl's ass crack with a credit card? Don't be surprised if you see more of that in the late 2020s, early 2030s, okay? Don't be shocked, okay? But yeah, that's going to be it for this video I wanted to do real quick, all right? And that Floyd Mayweather Greatest of All Time video is coming soon, all right? So if you like this video, click that like button, subscribe, help Young Brother grow on YouTube, and I'll see y'all later, all right? All right?